Hi everyone, Soul Super 17 here. Let me get through this like usual. I don't own the pictures, not in paid video. Alright, so usually I would just, go into an explanation of what I've made so far for the first part. But if you don't know what it is, go back and watch the first part. I'm just gonna get right into this. If I stop it, it's because I have to make sure what I'm thinking is what I want to happen. And it may take me some time to basically make this part because I have what I want, but it's just sort of like I may be basically not like I may change it up and add some things. So you know. Anyways though, let's get into this. Oh yeah, fact is I've been trying to figure out which servants I should basically give Bell for the Fate servants, fusion. Then with the Kakashi one, straight up, I'm just gonna say, can't really have an idea, so I may make that tomorrow, or later today, and just try to upload it, but yeah. So anyways, let's go through this. Yeah, okay, so, we basically are having, Bell, which is looking at the book he got, many months, or, a year ago, basically tips on how to basically fight. Which Bell's like, huh, wow. They actually basically go into detail on how to basically use a weapon properly, especially for my size. And, they even said just in case if I basically did the training that they said I should try. Well, I should really test it out a little bit with my basically new knife. So Bell will go over to his basically knife, and when he takes it out, he kind of looks at it. He goes, "At least it's better than basically what the guild gives. Well, the guild gives you. Basically, probably a little bit better quality." So basically, he does a couple of test swings with it. Basically, he just sighs. You're like, I need to get back in the groove. It's been a while since I basically fought with one of these. So he looks at the book, look at the book basically with some tips on how to fight with it. And basically it was in sections. So he does that. He basically reads the knife part for a while. Meanwhile, with Freya, as Freya is walking down all the way to the guild, even though it's technically, basically, I did say basically afternoon, if I remember correctly in the last part. So yeah, afternoon, and, so basically, yeah, they're going down there. If not then alright, whatever, change of plans. It'd be night. If I said afternoon, it's afternoon. If I said it's night. Just whatever, I'm not caring. Just moving on. So yeah, but basically, Bell, not Bell, Freya is going down there, which Otar's like, Goddess Freya, are you asking the guild about members, old members joining the guild again? Which she goes, of course, and if so, then I'll have to basically have them sign in. Which basically he will just nod. He goes, now, the training that we shall do for him. Which basically Freya would just look at Otar, basically side glancing, and then basically kind of smirk and walking back forward, and just says this. Simple. We're gonna basically see if he can, handle at least one of our... No, actually. Bell will probably not trust anyone besides, you. Which basically Otar would be quiet, but then ask, what do you mean by that? Which he would just say, simple put, since basically I trust you, and basically he has this trust in me, it may be better off if basically you trained him, at least to some degree. Which he just blinked and just, would nod slowly, goes like, I see. How aggressive is he when he's against newer people that he doesn't know? Basically, Mia had to basically give him a really stern scolding to because, he came back bruised and bloodied. And you're probably thinking, doesn't that mean most of the times when he basically fights adventurers? No, because he didn't basically stop getting up until basically he at least fought every one of them, basically to the point when they actually ran away. And basically he had basically a broken bones a little bit, some fractures. So it was the worst thing ever. But he survived. In which Otar just sigh and be like, so he's a very aggressive person when it comes to newer people. And basically he won't care who they are because they're probably level 1 or 2. He basically will face easily by himself. Even basically he, will die. Correct? Which she will not. She goes, yep. And that is why I trust you to hold back against him. And at least point out his flaws while the others... I know basically they will try to make me happy, but they also will try to basically, as Otar will finish for her and say, basically sabotage his growth. She goes, yes, and we don't want that. Now do we? Which Otar will say no. But it will take at least 3 minutes for him to say. And that's when they arrive at the base of the guild. And she goes, you may come in with me if you want, Otar, but this will be hopefully quick. I'll have to go to Edna and basically see if she will, like to basically reinstate him into the guild. Which basically Otar will not, and basically will still fall in, which when the guilds, basically the guild people at the desk, not at the money area, basically like the advisors or helpers, basically are there, everyone's basically kind of shocked Freya's there along with basically Otar. As basically everyone hearing whispering and such, as then not Hestia, as then basically Edna sees Freya's coming towards her. She's like, guys, Freya, what's the special occasion for you to come down here and to talk to someone like me? She goes, well, hello there, basically Advisor Edna. I basically would like to ask you a question real quick. She goes, certainly. What is it? He goes, could an adventurer who was basically kicked out of a, familia basically be reinstated as part of the guild, even after a year when he was gone, because he became a part of a new familia? Which Edna is like, it does take a while for some people to find a new one, so yes. It depends on who they were and such, I would believe. Which she goes, good. Then I would like to basically reinstate Belle Cornell's basically status with the guild. Basically be, a part of it. So he can go into the dungeons. Which Edna just basically blinking. She was like, Goddess Freya, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but do you think letting Belle Cornell basically go back into the dungeons is a good idea? Which basically Edna would just blink and then you go, oh yes, you care for him a lot. I basically can see your basically reason why you basically would be like this, questioning this. But not to worry, everything's fine with him. Everything was taken care of. You see, he was having somewhat of a problem with basically his experience gaining. His Exilia basically was not, properly going to him. Which basically that would cause some people to be a little bit shocked. Especially Edna. She goes, wait, what? She goes, well, I don't want to basically say much, but something happened where, the Exilia was not basically able to go to him properly, and basically very little was able to. So, in a sense, that has been removed, and basically he should be able to get more Exilia now. And be able to basically progress properly. So that is why I want to basically, have him basically join the guild again. She goes, yes, can, you just sign these then? Normally, we have basically the new adventurer basically too, but, or the one that's becoming reinstated, but since you're here, she goes, that's what I came here for. So she basically would sign the papers and such, and basically would say, does Belle need any new equipment? Which basically she would just look at her and be like, Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. It's just you still care about him all these years. Well, this whole entire year, haven't you? I can basically see you've been stressing out a lot over it. Which she basically, Edna's face goes a little bit blush. She goes, "Well, he suddenly disappeared, and I've been hearing rumors about someone has been kicked out of their familia, but it wasn't confirmed. I haven't had a chance to ask this goddess about it, but since you came here and told me I should probably have thought it was him." Which basically Freya just smiles at her and goes like, even though basically you always told Belle basically always be careful, he did try to listen. He always had that sense of caring for him like well, he was a little brother to you or something, correct? She's like, yes. Which basically she would just look at her with with a little bit of a sad expression. She goes, well, I should tell you, the Belle Cornell you knew is gone. Which her basically Edna's in shock along with basically some other people, basically that knew Belle because of Edna. She goes, what do you mean? He goes, the adventurers and the people in this town, city, weren't too kind to him. It changed him mentally. He's a lot more aggressive to people sometimes, not trusting. Willing to basically, if it means survival, to do what he can to do to survive sometimes. I think he actually stole something a few times just to eat, but he almost got caught, so he thought it was a bad idea. Which basically Edna's been in shock. It was, how long was he on the streets for? He was like, 2 months. 2 months, basically people basically treat him, treat him horrible, does that to you. So I want you to know, if you ever see him again, or when you do, he may have a different look to him. Not physically, besides the growth of basically, a year past, but mentally. He'll have that more basic of an air of basically seasoned adventurer would. Or just someone has a season of basically learning about people and how they truly are, since he never experienced anything basically like that before, since he was only basically knew kindness out in the country. Which basically Edna would just blink and nod slowly. She goes, just wanted to tell you that. As basically Freya will leave. As Edna would think, Pell couldn't have changed that much, could he? So we would have a time skip to the next day, but I have to do something real quick. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we're basically doing a time skip to the next day, as Belle's basically is just working on basically something he saw if he basically picked up a katana, which he just grabbed a stick from basically the back of the tavern, and he's been practicing with it, and then he basically throws a kick. Basically, he goes, "I've been doing this for a couple of hours, but it doesn't feel right. Maybe because I'm just basically using this wooden stick. I mean, I should have probably got something that at least would be like a Bakken or something." So yeah, Bell just reprimanded himself. Oh, give me a minute, people. Sorry about that. I just didn't like something, so I was because I'm taking care of the fire. Yeah. So anyways, so yeah, so basically about Bakken. So he just decided to be like, I don't know where I can get one. I should ask around some places. Yeah, that should be a good idea. As then he'll just hear a knock on his door. He'll just say, come on in. It's open. As basically, it's Seer. She goes, Belle? He goes, hey Seer. As she will basically lock the door and goes like, so? Are you ready? He'll be like, sort of. Just had to change into basically, out of this. I wore this last night. I was training a bit. Just have to wash up and then I'll be ready. Which basically, though, he kind of will glance at the door and then she goes, we're alone. Don't worry. She just smiles innocently. He just sighs and like, well, he'll go over basically to his drawer, take out his shirt and such. And he goes, so, Freya, got any places you're going to be taking me? She goes, mm-hmm. Babel. Which he's like, Babel? Isn't that a place where a very expensive, basically, weapons like the Festus Familia are basically? She goes, well, yes, but here's the thing. There's basically a place underneath. Well, you say basically underneath, basically the higher floors. A place where Ricky, basically blacksmiths, are. And basically able to help find you basically some good equipment then. Which he just sighs and be like, do you even have the money? She goes, what do you mean, do I even have the money? Of course I have the money. She basically holds up her purse. Which she goes, huh, good. I don't have to pay for anything this time. For like, what, the 20th time? She goes, I never basically did anything like that. She basically looks away innocently. He basically goes like, ha, very funny. Lyman's basically had to pay for basically a couple of those meals. Basically, she goes, those were desserts, not meals. It was, yeah. Point proven. She just, she basically just pouts, be like, I can't believe you got me. But she just smirks, she goes like, he basically just makes a slash mark in the air, goes like, 1 point for me, and 0 points for you. This time around. She goes, how many is this time? He goes, you have 50 and I have 40. I'm 10 off. But basically being right. She just smirks. And basically she has a triumphant grin. She goes, and you'll never basically win against me. He goes, I will someday. Which basically then she just starts laughing. Which Belle just looks at her like, you're not going to treat me anything else besides Seer, are you? He goes, meh. Why should I treat you any different? As he tilts his head to the side. Like, you may have been playing as Seer basically the whole time I knew you. But to be fair, you and your basically Freya persona, he says quote unquote, are just exactly the same people. You just be more of yourself but have to have the pressure on you because of your entire status as a goddess and the top basically familia. Right? Which basically she smiles at Belle brightly. She just nods. She goes, well, get ready. I'll be waiting downstairs. Besides, I have off today because of it. Which, basically, Belle will just chuckle, be like, right. I'll be on my way, my goddess. As she does a little bow, she goes, oh, why, thank you, my adventurer. She does a bow too, as, I don't know why, but I think they'll just laugh at each other at this. And basically she'll leave, and basically Belle will do his thing and such, do his normal routine. Basically then come down as basically Mamma Mia, basically, or just Mia. It's like, he actually did that, which she just nods, and basically he goes like, Belle's like, okay, I may have basically bowed and such, but come on. It was a good, funny joke to play on a bit. Which, basically Mia's just looking at him with a grin, she goes, well, yes, but still. You want to basically mislead people now, do you? As basically Belle gets what she's basically trying to say, he goes, no. No. Not happening on that. Which basically, Mia just chuckles at that. So, she basically looking at Belle and basically Seer. She goes, now, no basically funny business, as basically Belle just basically says, I'll keep an eye on her. As basically Seer's like, keep an eye on me. It's not like I, as Belle says, you wander off from time to time. Get lost sometimes. Which I had to look for you for like 2 hours at one point. Which she was basically about to say something but then keeps silent. And she goes, she just starts whistling a bit. Which basically, well, Mia just says 41 points of him being right. And 41 points of you being wrong. He's catching up. Which basically Seer's like, he won't for long. Just basically. So after that, Mia would laugh at this and just tell them basically to get on their way. So, Well, basically, when they leave the tavern and such, and basically just walking, Belle can basically see the stares of people and basically feel some guys glaring at him as he's just like, seriously? Anytime I walk around with basically a girl, they always have to glare at me. Ugh, annoying. There really are annoying people in the city. Which Seer just nods like, uh-huh. They can never basically get over the fact that basically you attract basically cute girls. In which Belle just basically raised up an eyebrow. He was like, well, I mean, that is true, but it really is a curse, though. She was, what do you mean? He was, next thing you know, I'll attract a goddess after me. Now that would be a problem, don't you think? Which basically Freya inside have her eyebrow twitch, which basically goes, yes, it would. But what will be the biggest problem? Which goddess? He was like, he just looked at her, just like has the evil grin, where she's like, oh no, he was Freya. Which I think just some guy basically just stumbles and looks at him, and then he just starts laughing. Which basically she was, I don't think basically the goddess Freya would go after you. Which Belle just tilts his head. He goes like, you and basically most of the girls at the tavern, besides Ryu, call me say I'm like a bunny. So maybe my cute charms will work on her. Which just that guy would just kind of stops and looks at him, and then basically his face goes pale. He's basically like facing himself. No, 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 that can't be right. That can't be right. Which Belle just seeing that guy, he's like, what's wrong with him? Which Seer just looks at him, aka Freya, which she's just like, oh, just a fan of basically the goddess Freya. Which she's like, oh, dude, I'm joking. Don't worry about it. Sheesh. Which basically the guy just sighs in relief and just starts walking away. Which, yeah, Belle and basically Seer walk away in silence, be like, weirdo, right? But she just nods. So when they get to Babel, they will basically go to basically where Edna would have shown Belle. In this case, basically, they will basically walk around and goes, basically the weapon Otar gave me was pretty, good. I think I'm basically going to the dungeons for basically a few, floors until I need to get a new one. She goes, well, that's good. Which I just I nod, but, he nods. He goes, yeah, but man, though, what type of sword we're looking for? Armor one or basically weapons one? Shows armor. I guess it also sells weapons, but mostly armor. What type of armor do you want? Which Belle just shrugs, be like, to be honest, I want something light. I don't want something bulky or heavy. Light armor will do, or, just, how should I say this? Just something basically that keep me protected. Which basically, Seer would think about it, put her basically finger on her chin. She goes, I do know this one place when Otar basically came here once. And I basically was starting out and I got him here. So, well, not started, I mean, whenever basically she got Otar, basically she goes, so, it's been a while since I've been there, probably got under new management, so let's go. Which basically he nods and such, and they just, go. And the fact is, not many people are basically paying attention to them. So, and they kind of realize that. So yeah, so anyways, they go to the store where basically Belle will get Rolf's armor. Like in canon, but in this case, it's not yet. But I'm just saying he's going to be coming back to the store more often than not. So, in which basically Belle is just looking around and goes like, nice armors. Which she goes, uh-huh. Which basically the owner's like, welcome to my shop. Look around. He goes, slow day. He goes, the guy's like, sort of, not many, new people are coming around, but, doesn't seem like no one basically wants to buy anything. In which basically Belle just kind of nods, which Seer, just looking at him and then looking at Belle, and then basically grabbing his hand, like, come on, Belle, and dragging him away. Which basically the guy's like, do I know her from somewhere? Nah. It's just basically going back to what he was doing, probably just dozing off. So, what happens is this. Basically, Belle and her basically are looking around. The fact is, though, Belle would have looked around basically at the armors and basically found Welf's armor, but, it was not what I was looking for, but this could work. Maybe the armbands? Yeah. No, maybe they're basically shin guards. Yeah, that could work fine. Which basically, Sierra just goes like, well, that looks like pretty sturdy light armor for you. He goes, but not what I'm looking for. She goes, huh? He goes, I don't want to be recognizable. I'm looking for, something black. She goes, black? He goes, yeah, whole entire outfit that's black. She goes, are you, he goes, before you even ask, outsider. She basically just blinking. Then she kind of gets a little bit serious and be like, so, what about it? He goes, well, there's a man named Corvo Tana. Oh, wait, Corvo, yeah, or Tana. He basically, well, as you remember, correct? She basically just says, you forgot I remembered. I was told about it. He just nods and scratches the back of his head. In which he goes, so, are you aspiring to be like him? He goes, it's basically what the man basically has done and what he's willing to do. Sort of. I still want to try to become a hero. Still want to try to make my grandfather proud. But I think basically following someone like Corvo, or at least trying to basically have him basically as my inspiration, something to go after, could help me basically get stronger. He basically had a sense of basically duty to protect someone, which he found out was his daughter, or knew it was his daughter, because I wasn't told that until, after everything. And he was willing to do everything just to basically protect her, and basically try to go after the man who basically ended his wife. But he chose not to. He kept basically the memory of his wife alive. A man basically who was willing to do everything, even basically sacrifice his own basically first for revenge for the people he cares for. To me, that's sort of maybe twisted in some way, but I want to be someone like that. I want to be skilled, strong, smart, brave. Willing basically to protect those around me by doing something that means doing something bad in the eyes of the people, but I want to basically do what I can to just basically protect the ones I care about. So, basically Freya just says, I understand. You're willing to get your hands dirty like no one else, is, or, able to, or want to. You're ready to do all of that just for the people you protect, you care for. Your family, your friends, and your loved ones, right? Which he nods. He goes, and you want to sacrifice everything. Which he kind of just chuckles at that. He goes, yeah, I guess that's somewhat basically of a hero that's an assassin. That's what it seemed like Corvo and Emily basically were to me. So basically she raised an eyebrow. She goes, oh, so you're trying to basically go after two people. Which basically Belle just kind of blushes a bit. He goes, yeah, I want to basically at least be on their same level. But they seem to be a lot more... There seems to be a lot more to them than what I am at the moment. Which basically... Sierra will just look at him and just sigh, be like, Belle, I know what you want to basically be, but you can't be them. You have to be yourself. Make your own path with this, help that you're getting. That is what it's, supposed to do for you. So do it. Which Belle's just blinking, and then he just kind of just chuckles. He was like, yeah, you're right. Thanks. So, though, she goes, you still want black, do you? He goes, yep. She's, okay, what, do you want any armor with it? Like this? He goes, oh no, I want basically chainmail armor, basically with the shirt. She goes, she's just like confused. He goes, I'm also looking for basically like, how should I say this? A robe? No. He's thinking about it. He's like, what are they called? Basically, they have a hood on, and basically they go around you. A cloak? Maybe? Nah. Cloak's too much. In which, basically, Fraser's like, so, how far do you want to go? Basically, you want to go around your shoulders, but basically covers, with has a hood and basically goes around your basically, not all of it around your body, but just basically be at your basically waist. He goes, yeah. She just sighs and be like, you didn't know what that was, did you? Or what's the name of it? He goes, just thought it'd be nice to have. I mean, be kind of easier basically if I need to basically use that for extra material just to basically make a splint for me. She just basically looks at him and just sighs again. So they look around, they find basically a long sleeve shirt, and they find basically the chainmail. Which basically Belle's like, huh. I think this will work pretty well. Which Freya looked at it and she goes, yeah, it should. Basically, she basically sees him buying basically arm guards and shin guards from basically the set that basically Welf's armor, but she goes, why don't you just buy the whole entire armor just in case you ever want to basically have it? Which she's like, good point. In which basically Belle would buy it, but not wear it. Basically, and then when the owner of the shop basically looking at it, he's like, so you're buying the armor that costs 990 Valis. 900 Valis. He goes, well, I may be wrong. Maybe 9,000 Valis or 900 Valis. I think it's 9,000, which he nods. He goes, and basically the shirt and the chainmail. He goes, yeah. He goes, let me guess, you put the chainmail basically attached to the shirt. He goes, yep. He just sighs. You're like, let me give you a recommendation then. Across the store, basically there's a person there that will basically sew basically this into basically the shirt. Alright? He goes, right. He goes, and basically then Cyril come along with pants and basically boots. He goes, we forgot about these. He goes, true. So in a sense, he would say the price would be probably like maybe over 2,000, like 2,000 Valis. No wait, 2,000,000 Valis or something. In which basically Cyril would take out the money and basically pay for it, which Belle's like, huh. So yeah, so then they would go over basically the shop next door, across the street, and basically the owner was like, hello there, what do you need? He goes, can you sew the chainmail into basically this long sleeve shirt? Which basically look at it, he goes like, of course we can. Many adventurers don't think of this, but those lucky who basically just want more mobility will basically do this. So, I'll have this done really, quick. In a sense, it doesn't even take that long. Probably 5-10 minutes tops. And then he goes, well, it's done. You basically should be able to handle at least up to basically probably floor, maybe floor 10. Then you have to actually get some new armor. Which Belle's like, seriously? He goes, yep. The fact is, you chose really lucky, basically, a chainmail. Don't know how, basically, that even got there. This is basically should be, like, in the higher tier, but to be fair, strong materials basically can make higher quality, basically, stuff. But that's what it would seem, but it's high quality, basically, low tier, basically, adventure gear. Which it still doesn't cost that much. Which Belle will just nod and her basically says, thanks, though. He says, no problem. Anyways, be safe then, basically, new adventurer. I'll be right back, everyone. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so as basically they leave, Belle's like, let me guess, haircut? Where she goes, yes. That should have been first on the list, but to get this stuff out of the way, to get their haircut done, let's go. She basically just like, pushing Belle. He was like, hey, I need to basically go back to the tavern and put them in my room. She goes, haircut first. So in a sense, they found basically a place for Belle to get his haircut, and, well, he got it cut exactly the same way it was in, canon. But a little bit shorter. He's like, I feel like my hair is a little bit shorter. Which, basically, Sierra like, of course it is. To be fair, having basically a long hair will get more of your way. So, I wanted to have a little bit shorter, but keeping your hair exactly the same way it was before, a year ago. Which Belle was like, yeah, thanks. So basically after that, they would basically go back to the tavern, drop off his stuff, and then he basically, while they're in the room, he was like, thanks, Freya. She goes, it's no problem. We do have to talk though about your training, which he's like, alright. She goes, there's a place basically I asked Otar to look at, or find a good training place for you without basically going to the, basically the Familia home, or headquarters, just so basically no one will try to maybe sabotage your growth. Which basically Belle will just sigh and nod. He goes, I get it. Otar should basically tell me by tonight, but it's still basically the afternoon. So do you want to basically go look at weapons? He goes, we were just out. She goes, yes, but here's the thing. I still got some pocket change. Which she was like, you say that's pocket change? She goes, of course it is. He's like, of course it is for you. She goes, uh-huh. He goes, alright, and maybe we can basically find you some more things. So what's that you would try to want? He goes, which basically Belle thinks about it. He goes, you know how basically some supporters have those basically armed crossbows? Basically, she just blinking. She was, you want one of those? He goes, yeah, but I want mine basically a little bit different. I want basically, to basically change out basically the bolts of it. The arrows on the crossbow. Basically make it though wrist action. Basically, I could just basically hold out my hand and just shoot that way. Heck, then I can even shoot out rapidly, but it's gonna basically cost quite a pretty penny. Though, the way I'm thinking it. Which she goes, like what? He goes, well, basically if the gods could put runes on it, or at least some magical seals, at least, to a point where they can basically, I don't have to keep loading it. She was blinking, she was, really? He goes, yeah. I don't know why, but seems like that would be an easier option. Maybe Festus could help? Nah, she won't help out a rookie adventurer. Well, a 2-year adventurer that basically didn't really go far into the dungeon, so a rookie. Which basically Freya just looks at him with amusement. She goes, maybe. We gods are not allowed to use our divine powers for anything, but we do have magic to at least use for the basically Hana. So why not basically allow to do something similar, but not exactly the same, for basically something like that. Besides, it should be basically in Festus, still a mortal form, without the power, to at least do something similar to this. She may basically have known a way basically this world has done so long ago, but haven't done it in so many years. Which Belle just kind of nods slowly. Goes, some ancient knowledge? She goes, uh-huh. Long forgotten techniques. Which Belle just kind of would just look at her and be like, alright, but I do want to try to do this on my own though. At least get the money for this one on my, for my new weapons and such. Which she would just look at Belle and just sigh, be like, you just really want to go into the dungeon, do you? Which he just nods slowly. He goes, yeah, I've been sort of itching to go back for a very long time. Which I think she'll just say, you can basically take the adventurer out of the dungeon, but you never can take the dungeon out of the adventurer. Which she was, which she just says, which Belden says, well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to deny it. I want to go back. I was actually thinking about going back there after, after at least 3 weeks on the street, but I would have never survived. Which she says, good, you didn't. So yeah, now, so basically, CEO just, get up and like, well, I'll go out and look for basically anything and I'll see what I can do. Just be careful, Belle. Which he nods and such, and after she leaves, he just stretches. He's like, now then, let's get this all set up. In which, basically, he'll put on everything, the cloak, basically, on the well, first I'll put the black shirt, the black pants, the boots on, basically, then the cloak. When he puts on the cloak, he's like, huh? Extra fabric? He puts it over his basically face, looks in the mirror, he was like, huh, looks like a mask. Not bad. Makes me look a little bit more mysterious. Wasn't trying to go for that, but alright. He brings it down the hood, and then he basically will, walk down as basically Ryu and the two cat girls are there, which basically Ryu will look over and she goes, Belle. Which Mia was seeing and goes like, well, you just got back and you're gonna go right into the dungeons? And he was like, yeah, I'll be back before tonight. Don't worry. I'll try to, at least. She goes, good. Now, you better get back here basically before dinner, so basically you can at least eat something before work. Got it? He just says, yep. Still the afternoon, so got plenty of time. In which, basically, though, he puts on the hood and then the mask, and basically he will say bye to, people, which basically the regulars are like, hey, Belle! Which she is, hey guys, and and basically girls. Hold up. In which they would say hi to him. Which I think one of the females would ask, so Belle, where are you going? He goes, into the dungeon. Which another one like, wait, you're joking. He goes, nope. Oh, you finally got into Familia. Which another one was like, hey, he got into the Freya Familia. Which basically the guy's like, you're joking. Which the guy's like, no. Which he's looking at Belle, he's like, well, Freya doesn't pick out any normal person. He must be very special then. Which basically Belle just shrugs, but like, maybe. Who knows? Maybe just a whim. Which basically one of the basically other basically probably female adventurer would be like, Belle, never say that about you. Never say it's a whim. She probably basically saw something that no one else did, and she'd be grateful. Which Belle's like, I know. Anyways, I'm gonna go into the dungeon and try to, increase my stats. Which basically just tell him good luck. Alright, so basically we'll just walk basically around. Well, we're walking towards the dungeon, but he'll basically look at the guild hall. He just sighs, be like, I better go in before I basically, hear from Miss Edna. Which he basically just realized what he said. He says, just say Edna, not Miss. Just when you're about to go back, you basically just get nostalgia hitting you. He just, kind of gets a little bit annoyed at himself, but he has a smile on his face. He goes, it's good to be back here. So yeah, so basically he walks into the guild, basically having at least the hood up, and basically Edna is just, talking to someone as basically he's right behind them, so when they basically leave and such, she goes like, hello there. Who are you? And basically she just blinking, as then he takes down the hood. He's like, hey Edna, it's been a while. He smiles at her. She goes, Belle? He goes, yep. She's just looking at him. She goes, you've grown. He goes, I've been gone for a year. What do you expect? I'm 15. She goes, yeah. Basically, though, inside her head, she's like, Goddess Freya was right. There is an era difference around him. He's not the same. He goes, anyways, just wanted to let you know I'm going to go back into the dungeon. She goes, I need to see your stats, if you don't mind. He just shrugs, being like, I mean, didn't Freya tell you? She says, well, she nods no. Which he's like, oh, alright. Wait, she goes, have you basically gone to the dungeon yet? He goes, nope. But my stats are unusual due to my circumstance. So they would go to a private room and the door's closed. She goes like, and that is, he goes, there was basically something blocking off the Exilia basically to, well, increase my experience. So, whatever basically it didn't, basically kind of like blocked off, some of it was able to still stay in, but it was basically being weakened and not basically, became a part of my experience. So a lot of it basically over the 2 years I accumulated basically went as soon as I got a new fauna and basically joined, well, new basically Familia I've joined, basically getting the fauna from Freya, and they basically found out what was wrong with me. I kind of jumped a couple basically stats up, which she goes, alright, so basically Belle takes off the cloak and basically removes the shirt. Basically, it was when she well, at least to the point where basically she can see basically the stats. She goes, okay, so G, 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 I. No magic. Wait, let me just think. Strength is G, endurance is G, dex is G, agility is G, and magic is I. And gotta put another log on the fire real quick. And basically, after that, she goes, alright, that's good enough. So basically, Belle puts on the shirt, puts back on the cloak. He goes, so? She goes, yes, it is strange. Do you know what happened? Which Belle just sighs and be like, yeah, turns out my parents were adventurers. Which, basically, she's like, huh? And Belle just says there was someone basically that Freya found basically. They didn't say who they were, but they would basically just say they basically may know basically something like this happened, like someone before. And, well, they would basically, take it off, but they will also review how I even got on. Turns out, basically both my parents were adventurers. They never said which basically Familia they were part of. And, well, my mom basically put it over my soul. A seal if I ever became an adventurer, to basically block out the cilia so that way I'll be able to live a normal life. Just so that means no adventuring for me. That's what took so long. Well, she just looks at Belle, basically just blinks. She goes, wow. He goes, yeah, kind of annoying. So it doesn't really matter. Anyways, though, yeah, so that's what happened. She goes, well, it's good to see you again. He goes, yep. Anyways, we go to the dungeon. I know, just stay on the first 3 floors, or maybe even 4, because I'm basically ranked G now. She goes, yes, Belle, don't go any basically lower than that. Anyway, she goes, I'm way more cautious now, Edna. I'm not basically the same as I was a year ago. Which basically, when Belle leaves the room and closes the door, and basically Edna hears the sound, doesn't hear the sound of his footsteps no more. She goes, yeah, that's very understandable. In which, basically, when Belle leaves basically the guild and he goes down into the dungeon, he's basically just at basically the first floor, and he just basically just staring at it and just, kind of remember the first time he came down, he just smirked. He was like, it's really been that long. Alright. Let's get started. So, he takes out basically his knife and just starts running. Basically, he knows basically this may be foolish, but to be fair, he at least wants to start getting into a fight right away. As, meanwhile, Otar has found basically a place for basically they can turn into basically a training area for basically Belle's training, which Otar basically, would tell Freya, in which basically she goes, so, how was the place? Which basically, how was the search? Which Otar says, took a while, my goddess, but I was able to find one suitable. It's actually near basically the Freya Familia, but also close to the tavern. And basically the guild and the dungeon. Which she looks at Otar and basically says, good. Very good. Anything else? He goes, well, there's a few things that need to be basically renovated and change. And, well, if he ever learns magic, basically, there also needs to basically be some target practice for him. Which basically she would nod. She goes, understandable. So, do you think basically these weapons I picked out will be suitable for him? Basically, what Otar will see is basically, well, katana, basically a normal sword, a short sword, an axe, basically a great sword, and a spear, tomahawks. Nah, not tomahawks. As I said, a spear, a shield, and basically, a mounted wrist crossbow. In which he just looks at her, which she goes, he wanted that. I basically can see basically what he was talking about, though, as basically she would tell what Belle said. In which basically Otar is actually was like, do you think he thought about this already? Which she goes, well, to be honest, basically, Belle always seemed to have his heads in the clouds still about something. I guess is basically magic. In which Otar would nod. So, he does look at each weapon. He goes like, well, I can say this though. These may be suitable for him in the future, but if he has no skill for them at the moment, then they're useless to him. She goes, I know. I'm hoping basically we can also teach him how to use daggers instead of knives. Which basically Otar would nod. He goes, we'll have to basically find some wooden basically tools, wooden weapons of these. She goes, yep. Hopefully it won't basically be a problem. Which Otar would just stay silent. So, meanwhile with Belle. As Belle would immediately get into his first encounter basically with some monsters. As they are basically probably goblins. As he just smirked and he was like, alright, let's see what you got, basically goblins. So, in a sense, they will run at him, try to attack him basically dodging and swiping, killing them basically easily as he's able to, dodge and swipe and, kill them. He basically thinking, being level G really does come in handy. He basically, kind of picks up basically the magic crystals and goes forward. He does kill a lot of the goblins. He does get to the second floor. He kills goblins and kobolds. Third floor, goblins, kobolds, basically wolves, and such. He's actually having a pretty good, pretty good time. Just one new enemy encounter will probably be bats. Yeah, I would say there probably is some bats on this floor. Give me a minute. So he took care of them. In a sense, he went down from the first to fourth floor, and basically, though, he's actually kind of thinking about it. He goes, I don't have the proper equipment, and I don't have no healing items. I did take quite a couple of hits. I should just go back up now. And that's when he basically hears something. As basically when he hears coming up the floor, he's like thinking, no, that can't be. As then basically what he sees is a minotaur. He's eyes wide. He goes like, crap, crap, crap. He just starts running. Basically, as the minotaur starts chasing him still, as when he basically would, get basically to a dead end, Bell would immediately take out the dagger, the knife. He's thinking to himself, he was like, I just got back in here and I'm already gonna die? As then basically when he thought that, he basically, kind of scowled. Then he remembered basically the powers that he gotten from the outsider. In which, basically, he remembered he has agility, strength, vitality, bloodthirst, which I remember correctly, I gave him bloodthirst and basically agility as his first. Sorry, just had to first two skills unlocked ready for him, and he hasn't used bloodthirst yet. Well, I mean, he has, because some of the monsters that should have been at least hard to take one strike should have never went down that easily. But hey, as he's just thinking, if I can go for the neck and I get him with a bloodthirst strike combined with facing my agility, I should be able to beat it. So basically, when Bell's getting ready to fight it, the Minotaur basically kind of just charging towards him. Him basically about to run towards it, as then all of a sudden the Minotaur gets cut in half, as basically blood goes everywhere as it gets on him and his new clothes. He's just basically thinking, I just got these. In which basically Eyes asks, are you alright? Which Bell, who just wipes off the blood from his face, which was whatever basically is there, and shoots it against, just flickering against the wall. However, blood that's on him, goes like, yeah, just Minotaur blood on me. This is not gonna come out after multiple washes. Got to wash this like 10 times, maybe 20 even. She goes, oh, my apologies. She would say, oh, my apologies, I didn't mean to. Which she goes, it's fine. It's fine. My wife was a Minotaur on the 4th floor. She basically would say, it's because of due to my basically Familia's fault. One of us basically caused many Minotaurs to get scared, which he's like, I would basically be mad, but there's actually at the same time, did you guys take care of it? Which they nod. Well, not they, but she nods. She goes, yep, we did. It basically, one of them got escaped though, and I went after it. Which my other basically party members, my other family members should be here. Which he goes, cool. Anyways, thanks for the save. He's just walking past her. Which she's like, which Belle doesn't remember basically this scene anyways. Which she basically is just like blinking, then looks at him. She goes, do you not know who I am? He looks at her and, to be fair, he goes, you look familiar, but I don't know your name at all. So, not really. She goes, I'm part of the Loki Familia. Which then he tilts his head to the side, takes down his mask, and looks at her and be like, is that supposed to mean something? Which her eyes widen. He goes, anyways, whoever you are from the Loki Familia, thanks for the save. I gotta go. In which, he just leaves. In which, basically, Loki's basically Familia members are running past Belle, as Belle already has the mask on, basically just walking past them, as basically they can just hear him grumbling like, stupid Minotaur blood. Stupid freaking Familia members of Loki. Which that kind of caused a few, at least Bet to get a little bit irritated. As what happens is this. When basically, they see Eyes there, just standing there, like frozen. Basically, Tiana, we're like, Eyes, is everything okay? Which Rivka goes like, yes, is everything fine? And, she basically, Bet was like, what did that guy do? Basically pronounced his love for you, and basically you shut him down? Give me a minute. I need to try to remember his name. Which then Finn, Bet, please do not basically have any hostility towards somebody like that. Which Bet just scoffs and be like, it doesn't matter. Basically, they're weak anyway, since they're basically probably only got here. Which basically acts like he didn't know who I was. Which he actually sounds generally shocked, which everyone just sees her basically being, actually showing a little bit of emotions. Shock is, kind of that way, which just basically at least Bet's like, wait. He didn't know who you were? Tiona basically does say this. Wait, did you tell him which family you're part of? Which she nods slowly, then basically Tiana then asks, basically, and what did he say? Basically, she says in his exact words, is that supposed to mean something? Which just basically, that kind of causes most of them to be shocked. As the only one who I think would actually chuckle is their captain, basically Finn. As he goes, well, it seems that you met someone interesting, Ice? As she would nod, as in all of a sudden, though, basically they hear someone, oh, come on! As then they basically kind of rushes over to it, as basically what they see is Belle immediately basically dodging basically monsters, slashing at basically a few, well, basically probably goblins, basically even bats and kobolds. Probably mostly though basically wolves and such. He's basically dodging, just jumping over, basically stabbing one in the head. As basically when one basically wolf is about to come and slash Belle from behind, basically he basically elbows in the in the face and then turns around slicing off its neck. In which Finn's like, huh. He has amazing reaction time. As basically Bet's like, doesn't matter. In which basically Rivio's like, that takes a long time. Maybe years of experience or countless fights to have a basically reaction time like that. Even basically knowledge someone will be right behind you. As basically Tiona was just say, yeah, and basically he's facing against a monster party. Basically, in which basically Tiona would go like just nod, and such Belle's basically destroying basically monsters, and such just dodging, basically jumping over while basically a few of them are attacking each other, as he basically dwindled it down to a couple of them, as Belle was just thinking, I should have brought another weapon. I was careless. I should really have like another basic weapon in my hand. Maybe a dagger and sword? Yeah, that would do. So, basically, they do see he does have a few more, basically, kind of marks on him, or scratches in his shirt. But then Rivio is like, chainmail? Which is like, huh? He wearing chainmail basically underneath the shirt. Interesting. Most people don't do that. They'll basically wear an armor set. Which basically Finn will nod. And so, basically, when these wolves and bats will try to run at Belle will immediately run to them and basically use agility to double, jump basically slash one basically monster into basically, and he jumped pretty high, so it basically cuts down, basically spins in midair, cuts basically that bat, and then basically somehow looks like he jumps again, and basically, while spinning, you could say kind of redirecting himself towards the bat, and basically will land immediately, basically swing around, stabbing basically the wolf, basically in the head, killing it. As then they all basically just turn back into dust and go back into basically the dungeon. As then Belle just sighs in relief. He goes like, agility works pretty much good. And basically, bloodthirsty works great. And that shocks everyone. Which Belle just getting up and then he looks over at the, basically the Loki family. He was like, if you're gonna watch the show, then you're gonna pay for it. Which was like, huh? He goes, yeah, if you're gonna watch the show, then pay for it. Which basically Bet's like, we weren't watching the show. We were just basically seeing if you're gonna get your butt kicked, so we got to come save your ass. Which basically Belle's just like, okay, well save his butt, or curse word, you know. Which basically Belle says, but still pay me. Which basically Finn's like, sorry for my basically member of my team. We were just basically hearing you basically yell out, and we were just wondering, if you need any assistance, but it looked like you can handle it pretty well. He goes, yeah, maybe nothing basically to you guys that are basically level probably 6. I'm just basically level 1, basically only basically in rank G by now. Which basically Bet just scoffs at that. In which, before anyone can say anything, they hear a crack as Belle just throws his knife up in the air. As right then and there, a cobalt was coming out of the ceiling as it just hits it. As it just falls down, as then, he catches the crystal because it bursts. And the knife, he catches the knife first, and then basically the magic crystal. And then he's just looking at them. He's like, anyways, gotta get going. Yeah, so he puts away basically his knife and basically gathers up all the magic crystals and walk away. As that just kind of leaves everyone shocked as eyes is just blinking. And she goes, does anyone know who he is? Which they not know. Which Bet's like, why? He goes, I feel like I know him from somewhere. So yeah. So after that, Belle will go up to basically the guild, basically say to Edna that he's back. And it'll be probably like 4 o'clock in probably the afternoon, be about nighttime. Which Edna's like, Belle, is everything okay? Are you hurt? Which basically she's looking at a little bit worried. He goes, I'm fine. The chainmail, helped. Basically, they were always aiming basically for my body. So the chainmail helped me basically at least keep most of those attacks away. Lucky enough, right? Just, yeah, but what about the shirt? Which he's like, just sew it up a bit. Should be good as new. She just looks at him and be like, you sure about that? He was like, yep. Anyways, like all the monster cores I got. She goes, wow. He goes, yeah, there was also a monster party there for me. She goes, wait, what? He goes, yeah. I was walking back basically the stairs, just go up, and then next thing you know, multiple monsters came out of the ground and walls, including basically some from the roof. For some reason, it seems like, I don't know why. She basically, I know, probably goes, well, mostly they come out when there's a large amount of monsters out being killed, so, which Belle would just nod like, yeah, true. Anyways, oh yeah, Minotaur ran all the way up to level 4 because of basically the Loki Familia. She was like, wait, are you alright? And he was like I said, I'm fine. So he would just explain what happened and such. And that's when you basically met the monster party. He was like, yep, pretty much. She was like, alright. As long as you're safe. Now, go basically turn your magic course into Valis. Which he went on. He would get good, little amounts of it. And such. And then he was like, anyways, I gotta get going. See ya. Which he would nod. So, basically, when Belle gets back, basically to the tavern, he would basically, see basically it's 5 o'clock now, which Mia would just nod like right on time. I'll make basically your dinner, just get basically washed up and change, and basically, everything be good. Which basically Belle just nods. So that's what he does. After basically a good meal, he will basically go in and start his job. And so, basically, when starting this, so basically that's what will happen. Yeah, I was gonna say, let's just change it up. Yeah, so basically, after a couple of hours in the night, basically, the Loki Familia will arrive, in which Belle would still be basically just cleaning and such. Basically cleaning the dishes. Making sure everything's going all right. As then, basically, Loki was like, wait, you gotta be kidding me. Someone didn't know my eyes? Which Beck's like, yeah, he walked away from her too. He didn't even try to basically propose his love to her or something. Which basically Loki says, it doesn't matter if he did. I would never let him near her anyways. And which basically everyone hears basically Loki scream as basically Eyes poked her with the fork. And basically Rivio's like, but it's quite strange. He was able to take on a couple of monsters, a big group of monsters basically by himself. Which basically Loki's like, just rookie luck. In which basically, one of the basically, girls that were the waitresses were basically come over like, probably one of the cat girls, probably the black hair one, be like, what do you mean by that, goddess Loki? And then says, yeah. Which basically, before they can ever answer, basically Bet's like, just some guy basically thinking he's all cool just because he did something, because he did something amazing or something. Anyone could do it. Which basically she tilts her head and then Rivia just says, we met an interesting adventurer, basically, as Finn would nod. He's like, yes. He also basically seems to be basically very skilled. And, well, we don't know who he is, but it just seems like he had some experience in fighting multiple enemies. In which basically she goes, huh. And he doesn't know anyone basically by the name, of the Sword Princess. In which basically they not know. In which Belle's like, in the kitchen, he's like, oh yeah, that's who she was. Huh. Wow, I didn't simp for her. There's a difference between me and my other counterpart. Nice. So yeah, he just goes back to basically cleaning. As then, Tiona, feel like, yeah, he wore basically a black, basically, hood, basically a cloak too, wearing a mask, black, shirt, had chainmail, basically a part of the shirt, black long sleeve, black pants, and black boots. I think he also had basically arm guards and shin guards, right, sis? Which, Tiona would just nod and say, yeah. He didn't really tell us his name. Which I think if he did, Bet would probably be making fun of him. Which he goes like, I don't want to basically hear about that guy who basically disrespects eyes. Which Loki says, yeah. If I ever find him, which familiar he's in, I swear I would. As right then and there, Freya walks in. Which basically Loki's like, Freya, what are you doing here? Which basically, and there's Otar. Which she basically looks at Loki and goes, oh, well, I came here basically to visit somebody, but they're working. I wanted to see if basically how's their, status are with, their status are after they went to the dungeon today. In which basically Loki's like, oh, So she'll basically, Freya will just tilt her head to the side and instantly ask, why you basically are so mad, Loki? Where she basically explains the whole entire situation, which basically she can tell Freya actually has an amusement face, amusement look, an amused look, in which basically Loki's like, you find this very funny, don't you, Freya? She goes, well, normally, basically, he would never have done that, but that would have been a year ago, in which basically Loki's like, a year ago? He wouldn't have done that? He goes, nope. He probably would have been running away, embarrassed, and probably would have actually fallen in love with her at first sight. But she would look at eyes, and then she would just look back at Loki, but the person who he is now would never do that. And so, basically, Belle would just basically come out, basically with not a tray, but just with a bin that he's going to put the dirty dishes in. He would just come out basically just, grabbing basically some plates near the Loki Familia's basically tables, in which basically, Freya was just like, Belle, there you are. He's like, oh, hello, Freya. I'm still working. She goes, alright. Well, do you mind basically if we do your status after you work? Which he just says, not really. Man, the dungeon node was a pain though. Which then he looks over at the Loki family, he's like, oh, hi. He doesn't even smile, he just looks at them with a little bit of a smirk. Which basically, I think basically Bet's like, what are you smirking at? He goes like, oh, nothing. Nothing at all. And then he just starts walking back. In which I think Loki's like, looks at looks at Belle and looks at Freya. He goes like, no. She goes, yes, he recently went back to the dungeon. Basically, she goes like, wait, recently? Well, yes. After all, he was not in the dungeon for a year, so it's been a while. In which basically Loki's like, then I was like, then how was he? Oh, experience. He gained a lot of experience in his year. In 2 months. In which basically Bet's just like, whatever, it doesn't even matter. He can't basically contend with us. And such Rivia will just say, not Belle, I mean, Bet, you're drunk. And so, Mio asks, do you want basically have his status go up? Which she would just nod. He goes like, Belle, take a 15-minute break. He's like, are you sure? Where you basically, she'll nod. He goes like, go get your status checked. He's like, alright. So, in a sense, basically, Otar would basically actually order something to eat. In which, basically, Mio would just say, I'll give you double. Which she's like, do I have to pay double? She goes, nah, regular price. He's like, thanks. So basically, Freya would just nod and just say, eat well, basically, Otar. You did a lot of work today. Which she goes, thank you, goddess. So yeah. So when they go up to Bella's room, basically locking the door and such, as she goes, now then, let's see basically how far you gained. And she looks at the clothing, she goes, what happened? He goes, well, as he explains about basically some monsters basically on the 4th floor. He went down all the way to the 4th floor since he was G, so that's what he thought he could handle. And the fact is, monsters were good at first until they, started to basically come more in numbers and such, and got to faster ones. He knew he should have probably took it easy since he hasn't been in there for a while, but he just couldn't resist. And then basically he tells about the Minotaur, and then basically the monster party, basically coming at him at once. In which he just says, well, you're lucky to be alive. He goes, yeah, I just think basically my experience basically fighting multiple people at once came in really good handy. Which she would nod. So, I am getting tired of everyone though, so I'm gonna write down basically what I think Belle, status is. I haven't gone that far yet, so this is where I'm gonna end off. I know it's a cliffhanger, I'm sorry, but it's just, I am getting tired, it's 4:15 in the morning, and I need to get some sleep. Yeah, I need to get some sleep, so I'll probably make this whenever, but I'm gonna be working on 2 other what ifs later today, and try to upload them. Alright? Okay. Bye everyone. Have a nice day, night, wherever you are, and bye.